Okay, so in this section, we're going to talk about how you can make your app accessible to the App Store or to others. So this is actually a very big subject, just like the others, but I'm just going to cover some basic types of things that you need to do for your project before you get your app ready for the App Store. So given any kind of project, you want to have make sure that you don't have any bugs and that um, um, you try to put as much of your keys and so forth in a secure way in your app. And then you also want to make sure that you test it in the release version. So what you want to do is from the command prompt of your project, you want to type Flutter build, let's say APK for the Android. You want to type hyphen hyphen release, and this will build the Android version of your project in release mode, and it will basically make the application smaller, and it will obfuscate the code so that it becomes harder to reverse engineer. So you just let this run, and the resulting file is the APK, which you use to, you can pass that APK file to your developer friends or testers to test out the app on the Android environment. But if you're going to develop and push the app to the App Store, the App Store prefers things to be not in the APK version, but they prefer to be in a new version called App Bundle. And you can see all the different versions of the build. If you just type Flutter build, you can see that you can produce an APK, which is an Android APK, and the app bundle, which is the kind of format that the App Store prefers. So you can type again, Flutter build app bundle, and again, put the release. And for some cases, for Android, you might also need something called flavor, which are the variants within the Android. So you can say something like release. But for my project, I don't have variants. So I'm just going to omit that. But normally you would type the flavors like this, dash hyphen hyphen flavor and like release. And so if you do this, you would then generate an app bundle, which is of type extension AAB, and that is what the Android App Store prefers, this version. Okay, and you can see where they have generated either the APK on your computer or the AAB on your computer. For the iOS, it's pretty simple as well. So instead of app bundle, you would do something like IPA. And IPA is a format that you use to eventually upload this file to the Apple App Store, or even to the testing network that they call test flight. So after this builds and runs, it will then generate a file that you can upload to the Apple App Store. Let this run to completion.
Please subscribe to this channel and like this video to support this kind of work.
So after the Apple IPA file is generated, and this is called the Apple Archive format, it will give you some instructions here on the bottom of how to either from the command line to deploy directly to the App Store in the command line mode, or you can do an easier way is to use the Apple Transporter Mac OS app. And so I have it here. And so you can actually go to the file directory where this IPA is located and basically drop it into this window. and it will then upload the file to the App Store. The last way that you can do is to generate the web version. So you can type Flutter build web, and you can just specify release again, and it will generate the web version of this app. To run this web app, locally, it's quite easy for Mac users. For Windows users, it might be a little bit more complicated. Um, but see, in the result of the the Mac version, you can go to go to web here, and basically all the files are here. So you can basically run a simple Python program to operate this, to run a web app directly from here. So like I was saying, it's on a Mac, it's actually pretty easy to run the generated or any kind of website directly from a MacBook from the current directory. So this is the folder where all the generated web files are for the Flutter web application. And from this current directory, if I type the command right here, python 3-m http.server, and then it's going to basically use the tool's default port, which is port 8000. And so if I open up a browser to that page, this is actually the website, the app that is running, that I had built based on that code. So this is just another simple Flutter app. Okay. Um, so that's one way, and it's possible to do this on a Windows. You just need to install Python 3 onto the Windows computer. Um, so to actually get this app to the App Store or onto a real website, what you have to do for the Android side is that you have to basically go to playgoogle.com console, create an account, and then you have to set up your account here. But there is a one-time fee that you have to pay. This is just one time only for the whole time that you have the account. So if you say you're just creating a personal account, you need to pay a one-time fee right here. This might change from time to time. Um, the the way to do it on the Macintosh or the Apple Store is there is an annual fee, a fee that gets paid every year, not just one time. And then after you pay that one time, that annual fee, then you will have a developer account on what we say is the App Store for Apple. Or go to appstoreconnect.apple.com and you create an account for yourself. And after you create an account, then for Android, you would come here and then go through the whole step of setting up your app on the App Store or Google. There's a lot of steps you need to go through. You have to ensure that, you have to declare what kind of app it is, whether it's an app or a game, whether it's free or paid, and what kind of audience, whether you have adult material or you have advertisement material, or whether you are selling firearms or anything of that sort. Um, and after you do all that, then you can then, this is for one of my apps that I have on my Google App Store, then you can go through the whole step of then when you say, I'm going to create a new release and release this to all my testers, because you want to first test it first before you release it to the public. And this is where you would upload the file. And here you drag and drop the app bundle. So as I had said on the Android side, this Android AAB file here, the one that gets generated for the app bundle, AAB, this can be just drag and dropped into this box here, and it will upload it and be ready to be distributed to your internal testers. And then you can have a beta test to a certain number of people on your beta list. And then after you go through that, and you eventually submit the app for approval through the Google Store. So you have to get approval from Google to release the app, and they will review the app and then give you approval to distribute. Similarly, on the Apple side, it's very similar. So after you get your Apple account, and then you go through the process of creating an app. After you create an app here on the App Store, then you go through the process, and then you would upload the app. As I was saying about the transporter, you would transport it, and then you would upload it here, and then you would then make it available for some internal testers. And then once you go through your internal test, then you can ask for an actual distribution to the public, and then you can uh, then submit the app for review by the Apple. So here you would say add for review, and that would then submit all this information and including the app to the Apple review board for distributing it to the Apple App Store. If you wanted to make your app available on the web, there's another way to do that, which is you can, like I had shown you about running the web app as a website, you can set up basically for example, GitHub. You can actually set it up so that you can deploy it to Firebase, and then the Firebase site, which is primarily for development, you can then run it like this on a website. I'm sorry, not like this. If you go up to, this is just one previous run that I had done before. And you can see that it was deployed to a URL like this. Okay. So this is accessible to people outside of my local network. So if you set up your your GitHub actions and you set it up with the and I will copy and I will post this in the description for the video. You can then set it up in a way that when it builds, it can deploy it to the Firebase hosting. But you have to remember that you do have to set up your Firebase correctly. So once you have this here, you make sure that you set it up as a web. And then once you have this web, you have all these configurations. You need to copy the the configuration file that this generates right here into your into your Flutter web app, and then this will allow the app to be deployed to the Firebase hosting. All right.